Hello and welcome back, or welcome to Mark's NOTCAST, and a regular series of whenever I feel like it, talking about whatever I want. And as per the title of the episode and the t-shirt, I'm on my 446th one of these, good God, and I am going to be talking about Metallica, a popular American beat combo that play the metal and the rocks. And I'm going to be ranking their albums. And I think I really like doing things like this because it allows me to, well, spout off to a tiny audience of people on YouTube. Hello. And also to, thank you for watching, by the way, and also to kind of put my thoughts in order about things. So there are some rules. I'm not going to be mentioning the 766 live albums the band have released since 2004. From memory, I think there are about 7 shows they've played that they haven't released, 2 supporting the Rolling Stones, 1 for the BBC. I think there's some Helping Hands charity shows that they might not have released. And also, I think one of the 2 shows, well, the S&M2 live album was recorded over 2 shows, and they haven't released the original recordings of those because there's a proper full-on live album coming out of that. Also not included are the 15 or so official to retail live albums that have been released. So that would include the Tower Records Japanese only Live in Tokyo and Osaka releases, the French Record Store Day, Liberty, Fraternity, Egalite, live in Paris 2003, and the Live Shit album, as well as the audio CD that came in the Big Four box set and the Mexico box set, or the other live releases which have come out on digital video disc, or versatile disc actually is what DVD officially stands for. But what is included are Metallica studio recorded albums released with the intention, or recorded with the intention of release. And that means it includes the Lou Reed and Metallica record Lulu. Oh boy, that's not great, is it? So, what's in the frame? Well, we have Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Justice for All, Black Album, that's 5, Load, Reload, Garage Incorporated, Saint Anger, that takes you up to 9, Death Magnetic, Beyond Magnetic, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Lulu, and so I don't quite know how many that gives you, but that's quite a lot. It's about 15, I reckon, plus the and Garage for All EP, Garage Days Revisited from 1987. Let's quickly count those up. I'm going to put you on pause while I count, and then we're going to start with what I think the worst Metallica album is, because obviously you've got to go from your worst to your best. It's not like a Big Black album where they rank the songs in order of how good they are, and the worst song is the last song on the album. That's not how we do things. We'll go with the worst one, and I'm going to tell you what that is very soon indeed. Right, here we go. At number 14, my least favourite and the worst Metallica studio record that's been released is, perhaps unsurprisingly, the sonic atrocity that is Lulu, where Metallica and Lou Reed collaborated together to produce a whole bunch of songs. Now, apparently Lou Reed had written these songs originally for a stage production of a musical. I forget which one. I would probably want to read the booklet and tell you. But this is not great at all. All the things that make Metallica great are not on this record. All the things that make Lou Reed irritating are on this record. So the half-spoken, half-drawled vocals, the very minimal song structure, the acquired taste is probably the best way to describe it, that is Lou Reed's vocals. And face it, some of these songs, they are not good. Not good at all. The lyrics are graphic to the point of obscene. And I really, really struggle with the point of some of these songs. I really don't understand it. You know, the bit where he sings about, I'm just going to quickly pull out, probably from, let's say, Dragon, actually. Let's put the one where he goes, meant to be a dismissible object one fucks with. Oh, you're so special. No law meant for you. You come and go like the goddess you are. An idiot's idiocy. My caring for you. You think I'm a book or a table. I am the table. you can rest your fucking feet on when you're able. The taste of your vulva, everything on it, the hair on your shoulders, the small of your armpits. We do love you to look upon your perfect body. Oh, God. What a grim, hopeless litany of abuse and unpleasantness Lulu is. It is, I mean, obviously the drums sound fantastic, by the way. I'd like to say the production on Lulu is brilliant. Metallica have rarely sounded so good in the studio, if ever. But is it any good? No, no, no. If you're sat there going, oh, can it be as bad as I think it is? It's the equivalent of Jerry Lee Lewis's The Day the Clown Cried, which Harry Shearer, the voice of Apu, and a number of other people from The Simpsons, as well as a member of Spinal Tap, described as a perfect object, in so much as the imagination of what it could be far eclipses the reality of what it is. You couldn't imagine how bad Lulu is until you hear it. And then you hear it and you still can't imagine that anybody anywhere sat down and signed it off and went, yep, that's great, perfect, we'll release this. It is Metallica as Lou Reed's backing bands, and Lou Reed as someone who hasn't got very many ideas anymore. I mean, even the opening lyric, which I think is something like, I chop my legs and tits off to look like Boris Karloff, or something like that. And I'm just like, just sat there, just kind of aghast going, really? You, Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground, who is experienced and old and probably 80, 75 or thereabouts, doing something like that. So according to the explanatory text, and if an album has explanatory text, that's never a good thing. This is a collaboration between Lou Reed and Metallica, sketched out for a theatrical production of the Lulu plays, which were by German expressionist Frank Widkin's plays Earth Spirit and Pandora's Box. And then Lou Reed firstly thought, I'm going to write some songs about that. Bearing in mind the album that he'd released before that was, I think, Hudson River Meditations in 2007, which was an instrumental ambient album. And before that was, I think, 2003's The Raven. I should know, I saw him on that tour and I was not a fan. And apparently the review that I wrote of that tour did get back to him. And Lou Reed was not happy about it being his Tai Chi master doing movements on stage to a trio version of things like Sweet Jane, which I described as basically like the budget Karate Kid, which perhaps was harsh, but at the same point, fair. And I stand by that assessment even now. Although the idea that Lou Reed ever read anything that I wrote is still pretty bonkers when I think about it, so I try not to think about it. Nonetheless, coming in at a resounding 0 out of 10 is the sonic atrocity that is Lulu by Lou Reed and Metallica. It is an album that doesn't need to exist. The Metallica-ness of it is terrible. The songs are one-dimensional, rote riffing. The riffs are stock, as they say in Some Kind of Monster. And the songs themselves are flimsy, shallow, poorly written, insubstantial. Generally, it's terrible. Don't listen to Lulu. Actually, just don't listen to it. No, it's really bad. Now, I have done a re-edit of Lulu. I've resequenced it. I've re-edited some of the songs. I've moved some bits around. It's merely terrible in that configuration, but it's still not great. And that means that I think at number 13, and I don't like this any more than you do, number 13 is 1998. Garage Incorporated. Yes, a covers album. I'm not a fan of covers albums. I think with very, very few exceptions, the covers album is a excuse for artistic redundancy and saying something when you have nothing to say. Now, sometimes people do covers and they're fantastic. I particularly think the Ann Caresses Versions album, and earlier than that, the 2012 one, Reprise, of covers are really, really interesting because they're not just straight cover versions. But when you get to things like Guns N' Roses' Spaghetti Incident, Metallica's Garage Incorporated, they're not doing anything imaginative with the songs. They're just going, we're going to play the songs exactly as they are on the original records. And you end up, especially in this album, with 4 multi-gazillionaires doing songs from when they were absolutely desperately poor and had very little money and even less opportunity. So yeah, there are some good songs on here, but they're not Metallica songs. And I don't get any sense by listening to them that there's anything about them that could be Metallica in them. It's Metallica playing other people's songs as opposed to me listening to songs and going, that could be a Metallica song. I mean, realistically, of what's on here, what could be a Metallica song? The More I See, Free Speech for the Dumb. That's pretty much it, really. It's basically a B-sides album. And it's a triple LP. So disc 1 and disc 2, the first 3 sides are new recordings from 1998 done in 3 weeks. Merciful Fate's quite good. Die Die My Darling is quite good. But again, Die Die My Darling, Free Speech for the Dumb, and The More I See, The Less I Know feel like songs that would have been written for 1983's Kill 'Em All. And that don't bode well for Kill 'Em All. The other tracks that are on here, cover versions, include the 1987 Garage Days Revisited EP, the Garage Days Revisited, and some other B-sides and one-offs and stuff, which are quite good, but they're not great, you know, it's okay. This is a Metallica B-sides album, because Metallica don't do B-sides, they do cover versions. Which brings us in at number 12, which is 1987's Garage Days Revisited EP. This is... It doesn't need to exist. There's no reason for this to exist artistically. I understand why it exists. It's a way for Metallica to re-enter the recording studio after the tragic death of Cliff Burton, and to be able to record new material and to add some covers into their set and to vary their setup a little bit. But it doesn't do anything beyond that. Now, there's some great songs on here. Helpless is good. Last Caress is pretty great. Crash Course in Brain Surgery is okay. But, you know, some of them are okay. But again, B-sides. No artistic reason for this to exist, but it is a recording project. So I like it. It's fun. But it's 4 thrash dudes in the 80s doing punk covers. And that's not what I come to when I listen to my Metallica for. Right. So, which one are we on now? Well, I think we're on number 11. And number 11, at the end, this is probably controversial, but I don't care. This is just my opinion, man. Like the Big Lebowski said, Kill 'Em All, the 1983 debut album by Metallica. This is, by the way, the Music for Nations picture disc from 1986. I always wanted a copy of this, and a copy of this turned up on Discogs for £25 recently. So I thought, nice price, I'll take it. I've always wanted this since I was about 14. And there were like 6 of us that were the metal kids at school. And between us, each one of us picked a band, and we would hang out together, and we would each one of us would have a great record collection for that particular band, and the rest of us would just take them off each other. Now, I drew the short straw around that, but you know, one of us got Metallica, one of us got GNR, one of us got Iron Maiden, one of us got some less good bands. No, so I just hate them, really. So I always wanted this. I was really jealous of Clemmy's copy, because he had a copy of this on picture disc, and he had a fantastic stereo and a leather jacket. And I have neither long hair or a leather jacket, or have ever had a leather jacket, come to think of it, but I now do have my copy of Kill 'Em All. This is okay. If this had been the only album that Metallica had ever made and it set the tone for them, this would have been like they're spreading the disease, or they're killers. And then they would now be on a double headline tour with Anthrax, headlining at best the Hammersmith Odeon, or maybe the Birmingham Institute, doing albums in full for their 40th anniversary. And I would probably be going to see them once every 20 or so years, even though I'd have an opportunity to see them once every 2 years because they weren't that big. The songs on here are juvenile. You know, you can just listen to the song titles. Hit the Lights, Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, Whiplash, Metal Militia, Phantom Lords. These are not fantastic, insightful songs about the human condition. These are songs about, as Ian McShane calls it, tits and dragons. And obviously headbanging and drinking. Musically, really good. Sonically, the production is weaker than a kitten's paw. Talking of a kitten, there's one somewhere in this room right now. Do you want to come out and say anything? No, he doesn't. Weaker than a kitten's paw, and the songwriting isn't great either. Lyrically, it's very juvenile. And I mean, thank God I was never in a band that did lyrics like this, because I'd be really embarrassed to have to sing songs like "Bang the Head That Does Not Bang" and "We're coming around the streets of your city tonight looking for you to start up a fight." When I was like 60, when I'm like, really, I'm looking for you to give me a good back massage and a nice lasagna. Right, number 11. I think number 11. This is perhaps not entirely controversial. We're getting into the good stuff now. This is Load from 1996, when Metallica were jokingly called Alternica by lots of people because it was alternative music and not Metallica music. I think Load, alongside its sister or brother album, Reload, the two are very closely intertwined. You put the two together, there's one really great record in there. You separate the two out, they're both okay, I guess. But there's a case of, definitely releasing more songs than they've written, because some of these just aren't very good. This has some great songs on it, by the way. So I think King Nothing and Until It Sleeps are probably in my top 10 Metallica songs. Absolutely great songs. But then you have Poor Twisted Me, Wasting My Hate, Ronnie, Thorn Within, and it's like, you haven't got much to say, have you? This album, alongside Reload, also suffers from the fact that there were something like 30 songs that needed to have lyrics written. They were all written at the last minute. The lyrics weren't very good. They were repetitive. They repeated themes and ideas, and they just weren't great at all. Absolutely not. So you end up with, lyrics like this and songs like that, where, for example, the entire lyric excerpt for Ronnie that we have on the inner sleeve here on the Rules Arch Ink Blot Test is Ronnie, 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 lost my way this bloody day. Still, it has got The Outlaw Torn on, which is a fantastic song. Again, absolutely love that to it. Really enjoy that. But it does have Ain't My Bitch on, and that ain't great either. So, some great songs on here, actually. So if I had to say, Until It Sleeps, King Nothing, Hero of the Day, Bleeding Me, Outlaw Torn, Mama Said at a Push. 6 really great songs on here. But of an album of 14 songs or so, 6 great songs just doesn't cut it, does it? It's not enough. That means you've got 8 average to awful songs indeed. And that means that the next album on my list, coming in at, I think, number 10, is 1997's subsequent sequel album released 18 months later, The Reload. So Load and Reload. You can't have one without the other. It's like The Matrix Resurrections, The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, or, for example, or Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning. So you can't have one without the other. Reload is better because it's got faster songs on it. Now that sounds flippant, but to me, in 1996, when Load came out, and I was listening to the songs off there, and I was going, they're good songs, but they're not good Metallica songs. They're things that only Metallica can do. They had deliberately abandoned in favour of songs like Ronnie. And then when Reload came out, and it had, and correct me if I'm wrong, it had Fuel, Memory Remains, Devil Dance, Better Than You, Fixer, Attitude. Some of those are quite good. Some of those not good. But that's not really the point, because it just seemed better. It seemed livelier, faster, more alert, more awake, more intense, more engaged with the world that was going on around it. So just on the basis of having Fuel alone, Fuel is easily the best song that came out from the entire of the Load and Reload period. And the fact that it wasn't on Load is staggering. Personally, to rehash a very old forum conversation, I would split Load and Reload into 2 halves. I would make one Load faster and heavier, and the second one, Reload, I'd make slower and bluesier. And I'd give the albums distinct flavours and feelings so that they would feel like individual albums. Whereas these 2 albums, really, it feels like a quadruple album, like Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and you can't really tell the difference between the 2. They were just released far apart so Metallica could spread out their touring. 8. 8, I believe this is, the Black Album, the top-selling album of the past 25 years, according to the hype sticker on this. Over 16 million American US sales. Can you believe it? Yes, I can. Here it is. This is your alpha, your omega, your ground zero of rock and roll and metal. But also, it's boring. It's not very good. The things which I loved in Metallica, the tempo shifts, the dynamic vision, the huge kind of aptitudes, the widdly woo guitar solos that they kind of explored to death on And Justice for All. None of those are here. This is a classic rock album in the way that, for example, the Cult's Sonic Temple, AC/DC's Back in Black or Black in Back are classic rock albums designed to be played on car stereos as you drive down a California highway near to the sea with the wind streaming through your hair at top volume, whilst at the same time hoping that the random shuffle brings up Sammy Hagar's I Can't Drive 55. This is a classic rock album. It is not a classic Metallica album. It's got lots of great songs on it, but I don't go to Metallica for songs like this. There are no tempo shifts, or hardly any tempo shifts. Although there is, of course, the heaviest silence known to mankind in Sad But True. But again, there is also the worn out to death through repetition, Nothing Else Matters, which is good. But guys, can you play it like 1 gig in 10 as opposed to every gig? There's Enter Sandman, of course, which we all know. Sad But True, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam. These are classics. Nothing Else Matters is their Freebird, and it is boring. It really is. It also is one-dimensional, and I just don't like it. That said, lots of good songs on here, just not for me, really. It's a classic rock album. It's not a classic Metallica album. And that brings us to, I think, number 7. Now, this one is probably a bit low for some of you, but I don't care what you think. These are my ratings, not yours. Ride the Lightning. Again, Music for Nations, 1986 picture disc. This has some absolute bangers on it. It does suffer a little from slightly ropey production. Easily the best album Metallica had made at the time that it came out. So it's got For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, okay, Creeping Death, and Ride the Lightning. 4 absolute stone dead, raise your fist and yell classics at any given point in time. It's also got Trapped Under Ice and Escape, both of which have both been played live by Metallica approximately between 1 and 16 times, neither of which are particularly great, and I don't particularly like. Cthulhu is good, The Call of Cthulhu. Cliff Burton is playing some amazing bass riffs, and God, I wish he'd been able to play and be a member of the band to this day. What amazing things they would have happened. No disrespect to Jason or to Rob, both of whom are great players, but you know, these are great songs, and the bass lines on things like For Whom the Bell Tolls and Creeping Death, phenomenally good, but not necessarily, you know, on the studio versions, not 100% locked in as absolutely bloody amazing. But really good album, really love it, lots of good things about it. It's also got Trapped Under Ice, so forgive me if I'm not perhaps a huge fan. Right, number 6, 2016's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. To me, better than the Black Album, but really the band were trying to recreate the magic of the Black Album 25 years later. So the songwriting is flatter, simpler, easier than Death Magnetic. They've taken out some of the rough edges, they've taken out some of the quirky bits. It just feels that the tempo shifts and the ambition has been slightly tempered by the idea of going, we can make an album full of classics that will hit rock radio. And in tracks like Hardwired, Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, those type of things, Halo on Fire, you know, you're kind of going, you guys are really trying to recapture that sense of stadium filling enormity that you had with the Black Album. So not an album that I absolutely love to bits. Spit Out the Bone is a classic though, isn't it? And I saw the first live performance of that at London's O2 Arena in 2017, and that was a banger. There's a reaction video of it on YouTube, not my reaction. Somebody else going, "Whoa, dude, they're playing Spit Out the Bone." And that's one of the reasons why I hate reaction videos, because I'm just sat there going, yeah, it's great, but it wasn't as great as being there, was it? What have you got to say that's interesting about that? Which is why I won't do reaction videos unless it's Boris Johnson's resignation speech, at which point I should have just pointed and laughed for 25 minutes. Talking of which, we're now 25 minutes, 24 seconds into this, and I am not even near the beginning of it. So, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This is the box set edition. The box set edition comes with a CD of, I think, the band live, a badge pack, a patch, some lithographs. Let's see what your money gets for you. And by the way, this was about 60 quid. So, some lithographs of some people with other people's faces projected onto them. I mean, really interesting visual ideas. But is this necessary? Oh, hello, James. You're upside down, or more correctly, your side side. Is this really what you want to be doing? And then you've got your 3 vinyl discs in here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3, which features Lords of Summer and Hardwired Live. The CD that's included in here. And by the way, if you want the album itself, you have to buy a separate CD. So that's an extra chart placing. Well done, you cynical old sausages. And if you wanted the extra album, if you wanted the actual album on CD, of course, you had to go and buy a separate copy. Well, there you go. And then there's the extra CD, which features, studio tracks, live bits, all that type of nonsense. So there you go. I think Hardwired to Self-Destruct is thoroughly okay. It's great, not amazing, and has some really good songs on it, but it doesn't hang together well as an album. It's not sequenced the way that I necessarily would put an album together, but since I'm not Metallica, I get to do that on my iPod. Right, so we're into number 5, and number 5, 2023's 72 Seasons. This is an album that I haven't fully connected with because I haven't seen the band live since 2019. They've just announced some shows in London for next year, which I may or may not get to go to, but I'm afraid the White Power Zieg Heilin support band guy, Phil Anselmo from Pantera, is there, and I am going to think, do I really want to support or pay money for a bill that has Phil Anselmo on it? There are some lines which I think it's fair to draw, and if you're going to go and shout White Power and do a salute on stage, you're pretty much irredeemably wrong, in my opinion. Other opinions are available, of course, but there you are. So 72 Seasons is a solid record. It's got some great tracks on it. I think You Must Burn is a banger. Lux Eterna clearly taking lessons from Motorhead. There's not anything on here that I don't like. There's not anything on here that I've sat down. I sit down and think, really got to listen to Metallica. I don't sit there and go, yeah, I really want to see Papa Het there and Uncle Kirk and all of that. Well, I will listen to it and I'll go, yep, very good, but it doesn't rock my world. Or perhaps the phrase is, it doesn't yank my noodle. Good record. Really interesting ideas here. The cover art is strong. The gatefold concept there is quite nice, of having the 72 as the cutouts. Nice bit of production, nice bit of presentation. I like it. I really like it, but I need to spend more time with it to see whether it goes any further up the list. And that puts us at number 4. And number 4 is, according to the Hype Sticker, the 5th greatest heavy metal album of all time, according to the readers' poll for Rolling Stone. I disagree, but it is And Justice for All. Now, this is number 4, not because of the songwriting. The songwriting is incredible. There are some fantastic, fantastic songs on here. In fact, there isn't a song on here that isn't a classic that I wouldn't be overjoyed to hear live. Maybe one I've heard too much over the years, but that would be probably it as far as it goes. Everything else on here is incredible, and I only say one because every live recording I've ever heard of Metallica, apart from the Covers tour, they played one, and it's just overdone to me. But Blackened is on here, and Justice for All is on here. Harvester of Sorrow, To Live Is To Die, Die As Eve. All fantastic, amazing songs about someone rampaging against, lyrically, the injustices of humanity. And that in itself is something. It's an album that absolutely 100% connected to me when it came out. An album that I lived and breathed, and I kind of like absorbed every last lick and cough and shit snare sound throughout the whole thing. So the two things about this album that count against it and don't put it higher up are: one, the terrible snare drum production, with which we will see a recurrent theme in Metallica records. And second, the absence of bass. You have in Jason Newsted, one of the great bass players of all time, who delivered constantly, threw it all out there on the floor every single gig and did an amazing job. And you turn the guy down as low as you can possibly get? Shame on you. The bass is phenomenal on this record, but you cannot hear it. And the drums are shit, and you can definitely hear those. They sound like tin cans being bashed together. So, and Justice for All, great songs. The live shows and the Seattle 89 live show that was released from the period, incredible. The album, very, very expensive demos and should not have been released. Number 3 on my list, I suspect I just gave it away, is Death Magnetic. And Death Magnetic suffers from the same problems as Justice for All, but also not quite. The production, or more correctly, the final mastering on Death Magnetic is atrocious. It was done while the band were on tour. It's compressed to fuck, to put it technically. Extremely loud, squashed, low dynamics, badly produced, atrocious. Also, Rick Rubin, who produced this, is one of the world's worst producers. He's a hack. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's got no technical abilities, no artistic abilities. He kind of sits in the corner, strokes his beard and says stuff, but his technical abilities are atrocious. I am a better producer than Rick Rubin, and I do not say that lightly, because at least if you have your mixing desk in half an hour, I would be bothered to learn how to use it. Rick Rubin does not know what the fuck he's doing from a production technique, as exemplified by his atrocious work on this album. He's literally a garbage producer, and it's an embarrassment to have a producer that knows so little about their way around a recording studio and a console to be classified as a producer. Call him a vibes coordinator and pay him in Diet Pepsi and get someone that's actually capable of doing the fucking job. Rick Rubin is a hack. Not that he cares, because he can go back to his mansion and talk stuff about things and then go and do an Apple mini series with Paul McCartney, whilst other people that are frankly far more intelligent than him sit around and go, how the hell did he get that job? God bless the Nepo babies. I don't understand the appeal of Rick Rubin at all. He shit on this album, because this is one of the best Metallica albums ever made. And I like it, and I'm going to put it third on my list, in spite of his atrocious production, not because of it. Easily the best version of this album to hear is the Merc 3 remaster, which has been taken from the stems of one of the Guitar Hero Rock Band's versions that isn't compressed to fuck and squashed to bits, and then reproduced that and made it sound like the album was actually produced competently by humans who have actual working ears. That said, exhale, deep breath, and relax, big sigh. The songs on Death Magnetic and Beyond Magnetic are phenomenal. These are the best songs that Metallica have written in a very, very, very long time. The stuff on this album does is just great, because there are things that Metallica do that only Metallica can do, and my God, they do them to an incredible proficiency on this record. Wild tempo shifts, jarring moments, wiggly-woo guitar solos where they don't belong, wah-wah, thumping bass, even Lars not being the worst drummer on the planet and even being better than me. These are all things that Death Magnetic has in spades. And there is not a song on here that I wouldn't welcome with open arms at a gig. Everything on here is all killer. That Was Just Your Life, the end of the line, the best opening 1-2 punch from any Metallica album that there is. Yes, I am right. Even better than, yes, I dread to say it, even better than Battery and Master of Puppets. Yes, just about this much. And then, of course, Broken, Beaten, Scarred, The Day That Never Comes, All Nightmare Long, Cyanide, The Unforgiven 3, Not a huge fan of that. Because I don't like sequels. It's like going to see Bat Out of Hell 2, the album, Judas Kiss, Suicide and Redemption, and Mark Apocalypse. Phenomenal record. I love Death Magnetic to bits. However, I only listened to the Merc 3 remaster. And because it was recorded, produced, mixed at the same time in the same sessions, 2012's Beyond Magnetic EP with 4 offcuts from the album exists as basically an expanded deluxe edition director's cut extra tracks. And that's got Hate Train, Just a Bullet Away, Hell and Back, and Rebel of Babylon. All are very good. All don't quite fit on the record, but goddamn, they're great. And so I'd make this part of the Death Magnetic session, which gives us number 2. Now, this means if I tell you what number 2 is, you also know what number 1 is. And you'll probably want to fight me when I tell you that my number 1 isn't Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets is the number 2. Master of Puppets is an incredible, vastly influential, instantly memorable, one of the best metal albums of all time. The production is immaculate. The songwriting is incredible. I love it. It's fierce. It's uncompromising. It's a determined artistic vision. And there is not a bad track on the bunch. Even the worst track on the album is still pretty damn good. You know, there's Battery, Master of Puppets, the thing that should not be, with the heaviest bass line in history, which, by the way, I've had the good fortune to see Metallica play 3 times, the thingy, and boy, it's incredible. Then there's Welcome Home, Sanitarium, Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah, another instrumental in Orion, and Damage Incorporated, which is just absolutely brilliant. Love it to bits. And I'd like to, at this point, to introduce you to my furry co-host. Would you like to come up and see anybody on the interwebs? Would you? Would you like to see People Price? Well, here he is. This is my boy, and he is about 5 years old, and he doesn't really like being picked up. He, like all cats, is a master of consent. And if you like cats, it means you understand what consent is. If you like dogs, it probably means you're not quite so adept at consent. Cats are masters of consent, and if they don't want it, they're not having it. Hence why I had to put him down. Lovely boy, but like all cats, you have to love them only on their terms when they let you. Just like Master of Puppets, this is a record with no obvious hits on. I'm not sure, apart from maybe a title track, Master of Puppets, I don't think anything was released from this album as a single, which is odd. It takes that classic kind of no singles approach from Led Zeppelin and really kind of exemplifies it. But it's a brilliant record. And the first song I ever saw Metallica play live was Battery. Oh my God, what a track to open your live career with Metallica with, is Battery. And there is nothing about any of the songs on here that I would change. Even the title of Leper Messiah, which of course borrows a little bit from Mr. David Bowie. But who hasn't at some point in their life? I mean, at one point, I was comparing myself to David Bowie and going, well, no matter what I'm doing, it can't be as bad as being in Tin Machine. Obviously, by the time David Bowie got to the age that I am now, he was making Earthling, and therefore I'm immediately outclassed by several thousand gazillion miles. But at the time, about 8 years ago, when David Bowie was making Tin Machine 2, I was on very solid ground by saying at least I'm doing better than David Bowie was at my respective age. Although, of course, that fabulous Bowie hair. Anyway, Metallica's Master of Puppets is number 2 on my Metallica album listing. The production is great, the songs are great, the performances are incredible. Cliff Burton is one of the best bass players that's ever been. And that means number 1. Oh boy! Yeah, I went there. My number 1 favourite Metallica album is 2003's Saint Anger. I know some of you are going, really? Well, hear me out, kids, because my number 1 Metallica album isn't even an album. It isn't even a vinyl record. My favourite version of Saint Anger is the DVD soundtrack that comes on the limited edition copies of Saint Anger. This is easily my favourite Metallica album. It's not necessarily the best, but it is my favourite because it is exactly and precisely what I needed at that point in my life. This came out when I was just on the cusp of turning 30 a long time ago, when I was looking at what my life could be and going, am I going to settle for second best? Am I going to accept a life that is imperfect? Am I going to stop striving? Am I going to go, yeah, good enough? No. Demand the impossible. Defy the logic of alphabets, as Zodiac Mind Warp had it. Saint Anger is my favourite Metallica album, and in my opinion, the best Metallica album. Ignore the retail edition. These are just very, very expensive demos. The drum production is atrociously bad, but the songs and the Pro Tools edits is sloppy as fuck. But these songs are fierce, uncompromising, individual statements, declarations of independence and integrity, with no commercial considerations whatsoever. Frantic, Saint Anger, Dirty Window, Some Kind of Monster. Great, great, great songs. Even things like Purify and All Within My Hands. These are songs that I know they don't have, guitar solos in. I know that they don't necessarily have the huge amount of tempo shifts that you would expect from Metallica, but this is more like Metallica being a 80s American hardcore band doing a double album of epics about the nature of identity and integrity, fiercely following exactly, precisely and only what they wanted to do at that given point in time, being true to themselves and doing a record that I think is both incredibly misunderstood and underrated. Now, the best version of this album, I'm afraid to say, is the version on this DVD here, the Saint Anger rehearsals, recorded live at the band's HQ by the lineup, just including Rob Trujillo. So Rob Trujillo, the band's third and hopefully final bass player, does not play on this album. Bob Rock, the producer, plays on this album, but Rob Trujillo does an amazing job of learning all these songs and delivering them with passion and aplomb. And the songs, like all great Metallica songs, are best heard live. That's what Saint Anger is. It's this incredible record of artistic integrity. This record that's about searching for and being true to yourself and following that irrespective of the cost and the path that it has to you, to not allow yourself to be compromised by the corrupting influences of outside factors such as, for example, neurosis, nihilism, mental illness, trauma, commercialism, anything like that. It's going, no, this is my stall, this is what I believe, this is who I am. And as a statement of intent, it was exactly what I needed at that point in my life in 2003. Well, the period running 2000 to probably 2004, maybe up to 2008, was really, really difficult for me for various reasons. I moved hundreds of miles, I changed jobs, I found myself parachuted out of a relationship against my will. All these really difficult experiences that I was grasping with, where it felt like the world was trying to squash me and split me and to turn me into somebody I'm not. And I resisted that. And Saint Anger is the sound of resistance and integrity and identity, and that is why, to me, it is my favourite Metallica album, and the version on the DVD is the best one for you to listen to. Obviously, it's all on YouTube as well, so you can watch it on YouTube and get a flavour of what it was. I love this record, and if I think of my favourite period of Metallica, it's not any other period, it's this. It's Saint Anger. And with that, that's my Metallica ranking. So thank you for making it to the end of this. If you've made it this far, if you haven't watched this far, I can say anything I like about you because you're not watching. It doesn't matter, he said maturely. But if you've made it this far, fantastic, and thank you. And I hope you find something new in these records, because a Metallica album is not just for Christmas. It is for life. And birth, school, Metallica and death, as the t-shirt goes. The four certainties in life. And hopefully you will find something new in these records and find new things and enjoy them further. In the meantime, thank you for watching to the end. Take care of yourselves and each other. Stay beautiful. And in the great words of the famed Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. And every rose has its thorn, just like every night has its dawn. And every cowboy sings a sad, sad song. From Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Right, I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. See you all soon. Ta-ta.